Just before we have a look at the note, let us just analyze the operating activities section as well. And again, it's probably a good idea to take one or two notes here. Uh, if we look at the operating activities section, the whole section, as we've seen right at the start, we can distinguish between two subsections: our operations section and then the so-called other operating activities section. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when we get to the more complicated exercises, uh, starting from, I think, question 4 of this question bank, we are going to design methods for us, techniques for us on how to take figures that we have that are available for us in the other financial statements and then convert them to cash flows. That relates to all of these items. How do we get cash receipts from customers if we have, for instance, the sales figure and we have the opening accounts receivable balance and we have the closing accounts receivable balance? How can we calculate that? So we are going to derive the cash flows from information available to us. So our operations section will always consist of these three line items: cash receipts from customers, cash paid to suppliers and employees, which then gives us cash generated from operations. And then, ladies and gentlemen, our so-called other operating activities section can only consist of these 5 items, no more. It's not always that a company will have all 5, but it cannot consist of any other items than these 5. So these are the possibilities. And that is a good idea to make a note of that. The only 5 possibilities are interest received, interest paid, dividends received, dividends paid, excuse me, and income tax paid. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what is very important for us to understand here, where we are using the direct method and we are presenting the face or the main statement of this statement of cash flows, is nowhere here, nowhere do you see the word income or the word expense. Why not? Because income and expenses do not belong in the statement of cash flows. They belong in the statement of comprehensive income. So clearly we see this is not interest income. This is not interest expense or finance cost. This is not dividend income. This is not dividends declared. And this is not income tax expense. Interest income is part of our revenue in our statement of comprehensive income. Interest expense, as you know from the first term, is a separately disclosable item as finance cost on your statement of comprehensive income. Dividend income is part of your revenue in your statement of comprehensive income. Dividends declared is a distribution of your retained earnings, which you find in your statement of changes in equity. And your income tax expense, as you can expect, is on the face of your statement of comprehensive income as a separately disclosable item. So the incomes and the expenses we can find somewhere in the financial statements. But that is not the same as what we have here. What we have here is interest received, not interest income. What does interest received mean? It means that cash that we have received in our bank accounts. regarding interest earned, right? What does interest paid mean? It means it is that portion of our finance cost or interest expense that we actually paid during the course of the year. What about dividends received? That means the dividends received is that portion of the dividend income that we actually received in our bank account during the year, not necessarily what was accrued, but what was received. In the case of dividends paid, not only what was declared in our statement of changes in equity, no, but what was physically really paid out of our bank account with regards to dividends to our shareholders. And the same with income tax paid. I think this one you will know very well because we did income tax, current tax in the second term. You know that the income tax expense is that expense that you accrue at the end of the year when you drop your financial statements. But the income tax paid is a different animal. You remember back to the second term. What is our income tax paid? It's our first provisional tax payment, plus our second provisional tax payment, plus any possible top up payment, or less any refund, right? So the income tax expense is a figure in our statement of comprehensive income that was accrued because we provided for an expense. But the income tax paid is those amounts that left our bank account during the course of the year because of payments to the revenue service regarding our income tax expense, such as our two provisional tax payments and top-up payments, right? So that, ladies and gentlemen, is why it's so important here to indicate received and not income, and paid and not expense, because these are not the same as the incomes or the expenses. And when we get to the more, let's call it complicated, they're not that complicated, but when we get to more advanced, maybe we'll say the advanced uh, 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 exercises from question 3 onwards, we'll see how we can, if we have our interest income figure, how we can convert it to a cash flow. If we've got our finance cost figure, how can we convert it to a cash flow? If we have dividend income, how can we convert it to a cash flow, right? And so on. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, here on this face of the statement of cash flows, no incomes, no expenses, no balances regarding assets or liabilities or equity, only inflows and outflows of cash. Now that I've said that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to the note, which is totally the opposite. Okay, it is totally the opposite. In the note, the indirect method, there we are going to disclose incomes, certain incomes, and certain expenses, which we'll talk about now in the next 10 and what have we got? We've got it about 20 minutes, 18 minutes left, right? We're going to talk about that. So when it comes to the note, it is a different way of looking at it. The face of our statement of cash flows, only inflows and outflows of cash. But we'll see just now why, when it comes to the note, the indirect method of presenting our operations, why there we go back to disclosing not cash flows, but incomes, certain incomes, and certain expenses. And we'll also understand it's not something that we need to learn by heart, which expenses and which income. We're going to understand why. That is our whole point. We're going to understand why certain expenses and certain incomes need to be disclosed in the note. So let us now go down to the note. Once again, I've got to emphasize, I know this is probably the third time I'm saying it today, the note is just the indirect method instead of the direct method of calculating this same figure of cash generated from operations. That's the only section that differs from the direct and the indirect method. If you are using the indirect method entirely, what we see as the note will be this section, but the rest of that section and the other two sections, as well as the reconciliation, will be identical. So it's only this part that differs between the direct method as we have it here and the indirect method as we have it in the note. Okay, so here we've got the note. And once we finish discussing the note, our time will probably be up, unfortunately, but it's maybe a good thing so that you can think about and digest everything that we've said today. And I also like you to go and attempt questions 1 and questions 2. Question 1 and question 2. The solutions are there. They are very straightforward. There are not too many mental gymnastics. There are not too many techniques that you need for them. It's really only when we start from question 3 onwards that we'll have to do what my old math teacher used to call mental gymnastics, where we'll have to be very fit and do some quite advanced calculations. Anyway, so this note, what we now use as the note is the indirect method of presenting the operations subsection. Right. So how does this note work? How does this note work? If we understand how this note works, it's the easiest note on earth to do, really, because you have all the information somewhere in your financial statements. And if you haven't got it in the financial statements, you can find it in your ledgers, right? So it really is easy, provided that you understand what happens. If you don't understand what happens in this note, not so easy then. Okay. So let us analyze and see what this note does. First of all, we've got a little title here as part of the many notes to our financial statements. A subhead or heading here, reconciliation of profit before tax. That is our first important piece of information. Reconciliation of profit before tax. Now, if we think about profit before tax, there are many things that spring to mind. First of all, where can we find it? And we know we can find it on the face of our statement of comprehensive income. It is a line item, a disclosable line item, profit before tax. We'll also discuss next time why profit before tax and why not profit for the year, but that's for next time. So we know that this is a figure that we find on the face of our statement of comprehensive income. In addition to that, we also know that the statement of comprehensive income was drawn up by applying the accrual system. In other words, it represents incomes and expenses that were either received or accrued. On the face of our statement of cash flows, we only have amounts received and amounts paid. But in our statement of comprehensive income, that profit before tax figure includes any of those incomes and expense items that were either received or accrued, right? But now we want to take that figure, that profit before tax figure, from our statement of comprehensive income that was calculated by using the accrual system, and we want to convert it to this thing called cash generated from operations, right? This is the whole point of this note, and this is the whole point of the indirect method, is to convert that thing, profit before tax, to that thing, cash generated from operations, right? This is the whole purpose. Now, what we need to do, and this is the structure of the note, once we understand this, the note is then easy. What we have to understand about the structure of this note is there are two kinds of adjustments that we require in order to convert the profit before tax into a cash generated from operations. Two kinds of adjustments. And those two kinds of adjustments are the following. First of all, we have to eliminate or take out or get rid of any income or expense. Now you can see we're not talking cash flows. We are talking income and expense here. We have to eliminate or take out or get rid of any income or expense that is included in that profit before tax that does not relate to the operations. That is the first thing that we need to eliminate. In other words, take out of profit before tax any income or any expense that does not relate to operations. Once we've done that, ladies and gentlemen, what we are left with is then still a profit, not a cash flow yet. We haven't negated or eliminated the effect of the accrual system yet. We've only taken out incomes and expenses that do not relate to operations. So once we've taken them out, what are we left with? We are still left with either a profit or a loss. If it's positive, it's a profit. If it's negative, it's a loss. But this profit now is not a net profit that includes all kinds of activities. It is an operating profit. In other words, it's a profit. It's still a profit, not a cash flow yet. It's still a profit. But it's a profit that only relates to this. It's a profit that only relates to our operations. That is what is left. So what it means, we are going to take out any income and we are going to take out any expense that is part of our other operating activities. We'll talk a lot about that next time. We are going to take out not the cash flows, but the income and expenses that relate to not operations, but to other operating activities. And we are going to take out any income and expenses that relate to this, to investing activities. We're going to take it out of our profit for the profit before tax. The same possibly, we'll talk about this next time. The same if there are any income or expense items that relate to financing activities. We are also going to take them out. So those are the adjustments here, is to take out any income, any expense that relates either to other operating activities or investing activities or financing activities, which means that we are left, once we've done that, with a profit that relates solely to operations, right? But it's still a profit. Okay. Let us pause there, ladies and gentlemen. Do you understand that principle there? We are taking out from the profit before tax any income and expense that does not relate to operations. And those can only be income and expenses that relate either to other operating activities, not operations, or to investing activities, or to financing activities. Let us pause there. Are you happy with that? If not, you can obviously once we look at revision, we can you can listen to the recording again. Uh, we can talk about it next time. We are going to talk a lot about this when we do the exercises in any case. Then we are going to cover that with practical figures. But let us just see, are you happy with those principles? Okay, thank you, Damon. Thank you, Subaida. Okay, uh, we can always discuss. We are going to discuss it when we look at the questions in any case. But just think maybe about this when you go to bed tonight and you want to fall asleep very easily. Think about this; it'll soothe you to sleep. Okay, then, ladies and gentlemen, that is the one kind of adjustment. Then we've still got to convert that profit that now only relates to operations. We've got to convert into a cash flow. So once again, what we need to do now is to eliminate something, take something out. Here we took out the income and expenses that do not relate to operations. Now we are going to take out, in our second kind of adjustment, the effect of the accrual system on those current assets and current liabilities that relate directly to our operations, not to other operating activities, not to financing activities, not to investing activities, but only those current assets or non-current assets that relate directly to operations. We are going to make that adjustment to eliminate the effect of the accrual system on our operating profit, so that what we are finally left with here is a cash flow. And not only any cash flow, it's the cash flow from our operations. The same as uh, if we had taken cash receipts from customers less cash paid to suppliers and employees, we get to the same figure. Now, what are those current assets and the current liabilities that relate directly to our operations? By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we now encounter a new term. Those particular assets, current assets, and those particular current liabilities that relate directly to our operations is referred to as our working capital. You're also going to encounter this in Financial Accounting 3 in two of the topics. One of the topics being analysis and interpretation of financial statements. Now you already know what is meant by working capital, right? So it's those current and assets and current liabilities that have a direct bearing on your operations. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to eliminate those changes that took place from the beginning of the year until the end of the year in those current assets and current liabilities that deal with operations. And what are they? There are only three. You could have more than three line items, uh, but they all are encompassed in three. It can only be your inventories, increase or decrease in your inventories, or increases and decreases in your accounts and other receivables. Now, I know you can split that into two if you wish. You can have a decrease in accounts receivable, and you can have an increase in other receivables, like prepayments, things like that, right? But normally, to keep this note concise, we will combine them like you should actually do in your statement of financial position as well. So an increase or a decrease in inventory, an increase or a decrease in our accounts receivable. Remember, our accounts receivable deals with what? It deals with our customers. Inventories deals with what? It deals with our dealings with our customers as well as our suppliers, right? So we see the link there. Let me repeat that. Why is inventory a working capital item? Why does it relate directly to operations? Because we source our inventory from suppliers and we sell our inventory to customers, right? So that is then clearly, inventory is clearly part of our day-to-day trading, our operations. So we have to go and see by how much did our inventory increase from the beginning of the year and how much did it decrease. And that is to eliminate the effect of accruals so that we can convert that little profit, operating profit, to a cash flow. Decrease in accounts receivable or increase in accounts receivable, it has everything to do with our customers, particularly our debtors, right? The customers that we give credit facilities, they can pay us over 2 or 3 months or 6 months, like some clothing shops, right? And then the one current liability being our trade and other payables. Increase or decrease in trade or other payables. I know some companies, again, can split that into two: increase in trade payables and then increase in other payables, and so on. But it is good, I think it's best practice to combine them, as you should in your statement of financial position as well. Why trade and other payables? Because it has everything to do with your wheelings and dealings with your suppliers, right? So it is part of the operations. Everything you do with your customers, everything you do with your suppliers. And what do you do with them? You trade with inventory. I know there could be services rendered and other things as well, but let us maybe just focus on a trading company, right? Your customers as well as your suppliers, you deal with inventory. You sell inventory to your customers, you buy inventory to your suppliers. We'll see next time that suppliers here not only means suppliers of inventories, but also suppliers of any other kinds of services. But we'll leave that till next time. We'll come back to that. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we have converted this profit before tax, which we now know we find on the face of our statement of comprehensive income, into a cash flow that only relates to our operations, our day, every minute, every second trading activities. And that is then the same figure that we can just copy over to this statement, and then we'll talk about how we derive all those other figures next time. Okay, so that is a total complete discussion of the structure of the main body as well as the note, right? Now we've got to go and finish the puzzle. What have we done with the puzzle? We've created the framework. We've now, with the puzzle, we've put all those outside ring pieces together, but we've still got to put all the other pieces in, and that is what we are going to start doing now. We are going to use those examples and those exercises in the question bank to complete the puzzle, right? We're going to see how each and every one of all of those line items that we have discussed, how we can calculate them, where we can find them, what we should do to convert an income or an expense to a cash flow, and so on. So there's a hell of a good adventure waiting upon us. We are going to have a lovely journey with this statement of cash flows. I hope you will enjoy it as much as I do. It is probably one of my, this term actually has got my two favorite topics in any level of financial accounting, being the statement of cash flows and foreign exchange for importers, which we'll talk about in about 4 weeks' time. Right, ladies and gents, I know our time is up. Any questions that can't wait for Friday? You can ask now.